Welcome to the RotoWire DFS show. I'm Adam Zdroik, joined by Jack Burkart. We got a 4-game slate on Saturday. It was a busy midweek of Champions League, but we're back. Ryan is, still in Arizona, coming back from Arizona, so I'm taking his spot on this show. I'm taking the Ryan Belangi role. Welcome in, Jack. Friday the 13th. Let's win one for Freddie.
Oh, I didn't even know it was Friday the 13th. Maybe a December instead of a Christmas movie tonight with my wife. We'll have to watch some horror movies to
Friday the 13th
to christen it. And what a slick entrance, Adam. I mean, you just hit it right at the end of the transition. The boss is in charge. We love to see it.
Have you seen The First Omen yet? We talked about this on Discord. Have you seen The First Omen?
I don't watch horror movies. I'm too scared of everything.
All right. We won't get into it then, but we got 4 games here. 4 home teams are all reasonably favored. We can decide on this Wolverhampton one, though. Wolverhampton has an implied goal total of 1.7 home against Ipswich, but we have Arsenal, Newcastle, and Liverpool all in pretty good spots, all with implied totals above 2.25 goals. So we have good situations for 3 teams, another good situation for a 4th team. And then even then we could, Ipswich at Wolverhampton isn't terrible. Leicester at Newcastle isn't terrible. So there's a couple spots. Fulham on here as well. But what stands out here in terms of these matchups, Liverpool top of the table, but Fulham, I think their XG is 2nd or 3rd best defensively in the league. But then we look at their back line. Okay. Joachim Anderson's still out. Kevin Bassey's suspended. So that means they're top 2 center backs are going to be out. We could see Jorge Cuenca at center back. Maybe another advantage for Liverpool, even though they don't have McAllister, who's suspended. So that's probably one of the lineup notes I wanted to mention. But other than that, it's mostly the same. Joe Gomez is suspended for Wolverhampton. I don't think anything else. We could see Nick Pope replaced for Newcastle. He just picked up some kind of knee issue. And we've had the remaining main question of Arsenal and their back line. Not sure how that's going to play into here, but for Timber, we could see 60 to 70 minutes. He was on the bench midweek. Could see Partey at right back. We could see Lewis Kelly get another start here for Arsenal. So that would change some things up as well. But anything stand out to you in terms of lineups before we want to jump into it? Anything else stand out to you in terms of matchups? Or should we just get into forwards here?
In terms of matchups, I think Leicester are a mark for DFS. They concede a ton of shots, and I think they concede quite a few crosses as well. So they're a team that you want to attack in DFS. But I mean, if we pull the prices, it's kind of tough to afford to play some of these Newcastle guys. Like Gordon has had some weird early subs. I'm hoping that's not going to be the case this weekend because he was rested last weekend. But we've seen Gordon rotate out at 80 minutes, 85, 75. So that's a little bit of a frustration with Anthony Gordon. And then you look at it, you really don't want to play too many other players on Newcastle. I don't know, Adam, like Jacob Murphy might play 60 minutes, 7,300. I mean, okay. Bruno Guimaraes is fine, but at 6,300, I think he's fairly priced, even though Leicester are a good matchup. Sandro Tonali, unless I knew he played set pieces, would be 4,200. Lewis Hall is expensive now at 6,600. So I think he's somewhat efficiently priced, and I'm a bit of a Lewis Hall hater. So Adam, heading into it, I wanted to just pile on, and I was like, okay, I'm probably going to be playing a bunch of Newcastle. And it really didn't work out that way, despite it not being the best spot for Liverpool. And I mean, it's a good spot for Arsenal, but most of their stuff just goes through Saka, so you're not looking to play many people there. It's just kind of weird how pricing works out. So I don't know, do you think I'm being too harsh on Anthony Gordon's playing time? Maybe we can play Isak as a fine tournament play. I don't know, just how are we going to play 3 Newcastle guys in one of our lineups? That was one of the questions I
I
had.
wouldn't care too much about Anthony Gordon's playing time. They also won't have Callum Wilson. He's come out. Let me click on Callum Wilson here. He's come off the bench, I believe, the last couple matches. So that's one attacking player. Well, this isn't loading for me. But either way, Callum Wilson isn't available. So that takes away an option. But, I mean, we look at it. He came off the bench on the last game, and that was last weekend now, and he's had a full week here. He had a bit of a knock. He wasn't 100%, so he didn't start that Brentford game. for that 87 minutes against Liverpool, 75.
Probably fair to pencil him in for 90 then, based on your comments.
I'd say I'd say a minimum of 80 minutes, and then like at one point, like it's 80 to 90 minutes. Like if you're not playing him because he's only gonna go 80 minutes and not 90 minutes, like I don't think
that's ridiculous.
Yeah, because especially home against Leicester, like
the player that you're going to compare him to in that price range is you could play Matías Cunha, who should be on most set pieces. We didn't see Pablo Sarabia on the bench, I think, last time Wolves
he's injured.
played.
Yeah.
He's injured. So Cunha seems good, but Wolves are a really game script dependent team, Adam. Like Wolves might sit back and try to play defensive against Ipswich. He didn't really go off on Monday until West Ham ended up scoring a goal. Like I think he had a yellow card early and was on negative points, but then once game script went in his favor, then Cunha really started to produce. I think you have to, if Gordon is definitely, I feel like even at 75 minutes, I just have to say I know ball and take Anthony Gordon in this spot just because the goal equity is going to be so good. And Cunha just has some ways to fail. Like, maybe Gonzalo Guedes, assists Matt Doherty, who somehow scored on Monday. Then Wolves might play really defensive. So, I think that's a big boost for Anthony Gordon then. But I mean, otherwise, I'm not like, do I have to play Joelinton for 6,700? It's just interesting that Newcastle doesn't have that many good DFS plays outside of like Gordon, Hall, and Isak that we can really attack Leicester with. Maybe that just makes it obvious to play those three plays overall, though. Adam, the saucy take that my projections had is that Leicester City players were seeming okay. A lot of them are cheap. Like you have like $4,600 Bilal El Khanous. You have $6,700 Facundo Buonanotte, who should take some set pieces and has played well. And Casey McAteer at 3,600, he's kind of an EFL level player, but he's only 3,600. And we saw West Ham a couple weeks ago, score some floor against Newcastle in a similar spot. So am I nuts here? Like, can Leicester actually score some floor, at least enough to pay off their prices? There needs to be some value on the slate. So do you think Leicester can score?
Score a goal? Sure, I think they can score a goal. Get floor points. I'm not sure I'd want to pay 6,700 for an underdog on this slate. It just doesn't feel right. But I think also the big thing is, whatever. You play El Khanous, you can play McAteer. Those guys are sub 5K. Play Vardy in tournaments, whatever. Get something.
I won't be playing Vardy in tournaments, Adam. It's a personal thing.
Okay, but I mean, Buonanotte. So looking at this lineup, we don't know what their lineup's going to look like. I was just talking about this on our betting show. Check it out. Kits and Wagers on RotoWire. It's on youtube.com/@RotoWire Soccer. But there's a chance we get three center backs here from Leicester City. So Harry Winks is still going to be out with his groin injury. Samare, who started the last few matches, he's suspended. Wilfred Ndidi picked up a hamstring injury. We could see an entirely new midfield for Leicester, which would include Chidowry, who has barely played this season, Oliver Skipp, who has basically been dropped for the past month plus. Your guy, Oliver Skipp.
Spurs legend.
So it could be either two new defensive midfielders in here, or it could be another center back, maybe Wout-Face or Caleb Akoli returns to the back line, and they go three center backs. Christensen and Justin are on the wing, something like that. So that's still a defensive look. But either way, like just the Newcastle midfield, you have Grimarish, Joelinton, Tonali, Longstaff, whoever starts in there at home in a good spot for a win. I just think that this is a spot where how much of the ball Leicester are going to have in an attacking position. It's going to be mostly counters, it feels like. At a deficiency in the midfield, I'm just not seeing, like, if they get to 4 or 5 corners, is that even going to be enough for a 6,700 Buonanotte? That's if they get there. So I just don't want to pay for something like that. Is kind of where I'm at.
I had projected around 5.5 corners, and it felt a little high looking at it, and that kind of plays a role. I think you've convinced me. Buonanotte at 6,700, he's cheap, but you could play Lewis Hall instead, in a utility spot. So, yeah, as long as the guy's cheap, like Casey McAteer, whatever, he's 3,600. James Justin, whatever, he's 3,800. That's easier to justify. They can get there on counterattacks and maybe playing a little bit better than expected. I'm sold, Adam. I think you have fixed my concerns about this game.
There we go. Otherwise, at forward, as we get into it here, so Saka at 10.4K. He's basically a lock for cash games. I don't think there's.
Yep.
I mean, you kind of said it at the bat. a lot of stuff. Have split of set pieces, most likely goal scorer, 10.4K, home against Everton, allow a ton of floor points. So we're locking him in. You mentioned Cunha. There's not really anyone else who stands out. Cunha 9,400, Gordon 9,500. We're not playing Salah at 11K in cash games at least. Isak 9,800. Why would you play Isak when you have some set piece takers below him? So outside of those guys, you start going down. And Trossard, who could play 60 minutes, is at 7,900. There's not really anyone who would stand out with set pieces. Again, if Goncalo Guedes starts, I got him in here. I don't know what this Wolverhampton lineup's going to look like. We saw them roll out 5 defenders, 3 defensive midfielders in El Sacco on Monday. So this could be a more attacking lineup here from Gary O'Neill, which I hope it is, because why would you play another extremely defensive lineup at home against Ipswich? But we'll see what that looks like. So you have those guys. We're not playing Dwight McNeil at 6,900. Really, we're not really looking at any of those underdogs against Arsenal or Liverpool up here. So it's kind of tough. Who is like your outside of Gordon and Cunha, I guess, is there like anyone who actually stands out? Are we going down to Omari Hutchinson at 5,400, 90 minutes? Wolverhampton, we know, don't possess the ball much. So what's wrong with his floor, even without set pieces? What's the move here?
Yeah, I think at the top you nailed it. Saka seems like a lock for cash games. You should then at the second forward probably play one of Matthias Cunha and Anthony Gordon. I like Anthony Gordon more after our discussion. You can play Cunha if you want. He's an absolute monster. So, but I think just because of the goal equity, right? Someone like Isak, Adam, great tournament play, but as far as cash games go, like Gordon provides goal equity into that matchup and set pieces. So I don't see the need to play Isak. But yeah, I was uninspired by the rest of the forward position. It's kind of tough to afford Mo Salah, but you can do it. Not in cash, though, not when you have set piece takers with good goal equity. All 3 of Saka, Gordon, and Cunha have good goal equity. So why play someone goal dependent when he's competing against 3 players with set pieces? The names that I like scrolling down, Adam, you have Jack Clark projected to start. And I think he's only going to play 70 minutes, which is a knock on him compared to Omari Hutchinson, who I think is fine. But Jack Clark took right-footed corners in his last start for Ipswich. And last week we saw Sammy Smodics take right-footed set pieces as well for Ipswich. So we no longer see Leif Davis on a monopoly, and we're looking at a $4,900 forward who has a decent floor and should be live for a couple sets against a Wolves team who absolutely bleed corners. Like, Wolves are pretty bad at possession, and they're one of the teams that teams' corner totals goes up against when I run projections. So I don't mind Jack Clark, but I mean, Adam, you can just play Omari Hutchinson too, just because of the minutes, and he has plenty of open play value. I agree with you there. Maybe these cheap Ipswich forwards might play one in cash, and maybe they're good tournament options as well. Liam Delap is 5,500, and Wes Burns even 5,300.
Yeah, Wes Burns, his last 2 starts, he has 14 crosses. Obviously, the worry with those Ipswich guys you mentioned with Clark is, they've been rotating Chaplin, Smodics, those guys. Basically, whoever starts, it's going to be 60, 70 minutes. They're just rotating the wings. And Hutchinson, he'll either start centrally or either start on the right side, or he'll move around. He can, he's a 90-minute guy. So he stays there. The rest of the wingers don't really stay there. So it's more of a tournament move, I think. Just going, I guess Clark, you're saving more money. He's 4,800 and Hutchinson's 5,400. Like if you need the 600, I guess you can go down to Clark, but there's a situation where, okay, Wolverhampton get an early lead, they're at home, and there's not a team that's going to just dominate the ball. Like you said, they're not going to dominate possession for an entire match. What if the final 20 minutes of the match, Ipswich are down trying to push, and they're just launching crosses, getting chances created? Like, I kind of want that from Hutchinson. So even with like a split of set pieces, I'm still not sure like that Clark would be a play in cash games, but sure, tournaments, any of those guys could score, and they do launch in crosses. So not the worst thing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Jack Clark, some of his projections feeding off the fact that he plays in garbage time a lot, specifically these scripts when they're launching away, but he won't be in there. Omari Hutchinson more likely will be. So I would support, I don't think that's an outrageous thing to do at all. In fact, it's a really good point, and I'm going to have to look at the numbers more carefully. Adam, I have a gimmick strategy in tournaments.
Alex Iwobi.
Oh, no Alex Iwobi. Come on. Not against Liverpool. You can play 2 cheap Ipswich forwards. So, I mean, you like Hutchinson. Liam Delap might be fine. Jack Clark might be fine. And then we're going to talk about midfield, Adam. Midfield only is pretty gross. So you play forward, you put Saka into a midfield spot. You can put Mo Salah into a midfield spot as well. So it's kind of a gimmick strategy where hopefully, Ipswich gets some floor and those guys can score enough points. You can still play some of the good forwards using utility and midfield slots. I don't know. I'd like to propose a gigabrain strategy in my article. I think it could work here, though, because you're only spending 10K for 2 forwards in a good floor spot. Like, Wolves stink. So, Jack Clark and Omari Hutchinson could get floor and each contribute with a goal. Like, that would be plenty to pay off those price tags. Might be the only way to fit in Mohamed Salah. Might be the only way to fit in him and Bukayo Saka together. And these Ipswich guys are forward eligible only, so you can't use them in the midfield. So just using the positional eligibility, which has just been strange on DraftKings this season, it's something I'm going to try out in larger GPPs like that, 1,000 entry $5 one, for example.
Yeah, so I guess, in tournaments, that'd be an acceptable route. It makes more sense than what I was going to bring up, at least for. So I mean, you're talking about getting these guys in and then playing Salah, whoever, in midfield. Let's just get into midfield. We kind of went over forwards here. So there's, you mentioned there's not a ton of cheap plays at midfield. I'm going to throw some guys out. Let's just go down to the bottom of the barrel for midfield. One guy that was popping up in Roto AI because he makes a lot of defensive stats. I think he won 12 tackles over a 2-match period. But Andre is home against Ipswich. Andre is 3K. He's had, if you look at some of his performances where he's just racking up tackles, this isn't a guy who's going to score, but he's probably going to go 90 minutes because João Gomez is suspended. So you're getting 90 minutes from a guy who just wins a bunch of tackles, draws a couple fouls here and there. You're getting, this is for cash games here, you're getting 6, 7, 8 points from 3K. So you got Andre in here. Jorginho's 3,300. Thomas Partey is 4,400. Is this even going into your thought process here for cash games? Just looking down in the bottom of midfielders, so you can pay for those 2 forwards.
It is, and you might want to do it so that maybe there's ways to afford Saka, Acuna, and Gordon, and just have the 3 best plays. I don't know if that's the best way to approach things. Maybe you want to spend some money at defender in that case. But I mean, I was about to come here and unironically tout Casey McAteer at 3,600. So he's someone who could get a yellow card and get subbed off at the 55th minute. He's fine because he's a winger at 3,600. And I think he had a pretty good floor 2 weeks ago, 5 points last week. But yeah, I mean, you could play Andre for 3K. Just hope you get some defensive stats. Maybe he launches a shot. That's something that can make things work in cash games if you need the money. It feels so awful to talk about these names, but Jorginho, I guess you can consider it because Arsenal should possess the ball.
Tonali's down there too, 4,200.
Tonali is only 4,200. So I was going to ask you about Sandro Tonali, Adam. Can we play him at 4,200? I think Gordon has the priority on set pieces when he's on the pitch, which stinks for Tonali. But if somehow Tonali took some sets, or maybe it's just going to be capitulation from Leicester and he just gets a few shots, I think just playing a player in that game environment and hoping we get lucky with a couple shots assisted, maybe get an assist, maybe get a goal, it might be better than all of these guys that we're mentioning. And it's only 1,200 more.
Did Tonali he took some corners here at Crystal Palace Liverpool game.
Did he? Can you pull it up?
Yeah, I'll open it in a new tab. Yeah, so he has the 3 and 2 here. Gordon
was not playing in that one.
Are you sure?
So December 7th, Gordon was rested, right?
Yeah, that was the
This is
Brentford
the Liverpool game.
Yeah, so Liverpool 87, 90 at Crystal Palace.
Okay, I'll have to look more carefully into that. I thought Gordon also got subbed early in that game. So I thought that was a function of
I guess maybe
Tonali taking over.
Gordon and Tonali both went 87 in that Liverpool game. And looking at the set pieces, Gordon still had 3. So, I mean, they just split. Or I guess corners / free kicks. So
that's interesting. So there's a shot that he takes some corners. Maybe I'll look into it a little bit more. Tonali, even in a committee, that would make a difference because there should be set pieces against Leicester. I mean, even if he has a shot, I mean, what's his open play floor? 6? God, we're talking about Andre, Adam. Like, you can play a 4,200 player who has a 6-point floor and at least has like bailout starts to take set pieces equity. So I do think Tonali is a good option at 4,200.
Yeah, he would be the only one down here with possible set pieces outside of once you get to like El Kanouche. But even then, Buonanotte takes over Kanouche, right?
Yeah, I think so. I have to check the feet on everyone, but I think, isn't Buonanotte left-footed? And then he takes over for Victor Christensen.
Let's phone a friend here. Yeah, Ryan, are you there?
Oh, Jack, I can't believe that you don't know Facundo Buonanotte's foot.
He's left-footed, yeah.
He's left-footed. All right, so I think you'll see El Kanouche on right-footed set pieces. I don't really like El Kanouche. He had that one really good open play floor game, but he hasn't really done much, even as a sub. But you can play him at that price. I mean, everyone's so cheap, and the other options stink so much. This is why I was talking about maybe it's fine to play Buonanotte just because everyone else is so bad, and at least Buonanotte's like a good player who will play 90 minutes. But I mean, maybe Bruno Guimaraes at 6,300 is fine. I mean, Szoboszlai and Curtis Jones are 5,900 and 5,400. I guess you could play them, though I think Fulham will not exactly be a pushover for Liverpool.
Yeah, it seems to be an interesting matchup. Fulham have been competitive against most teams. That center back duo is kind of worrying, but Sasa Lukic and Sander Berg in there instead of Andres Pereira just kind of gives them another guy who's just gonna wreak havoc in the midfield, kind of a thing. Whereas Andreas wasn't really that kind of a guy. So, so I guess let's maybe go up to the top of midfield a little bit, though. The midfield exclusive isn't really there. I mean, for cash games, like we said, Saka, Gordon, Cunha. Scroll down a little bit. We got all the dual eligible here. With Salah still there. Odegaard's 8K is interesting because he's been 10K. Wasn't he like 6K in Champions League? Now he's 8K.
Champions League thinks he's a bomb, and Premier League thinks he's like playing 90 minutes and taking half of the set pieces.
He's just been all over. I think that's a fun tournament play. Not in cash games. I played Declan Rice at like 6K midweek. I was expecting, Monaco corners. Let's get 10 corners here. Declan Rice, 10, 15-point floor. They had,
Adam.
They had one corner in that game. He had 3, 4 floor points. But this is a guy who 7,600 here. There's a possibility where Everton keep Arsenal out and they have 15 corners in this game, and Declan Rice has a 15-point floor. So you got Declan Rice there at 7,600. Jacob Murphy, we kind of talked about him a little bit, but he's 7,300, 70 minutes is the concern there, and not really somewhere you want to go in cash games. Buonanotte, 6,700. That's kind of what we're looking at. Again, it's pretty, as you said at the top, it's like, how many players do you actually want to play when looking at this? You have like your obvious ones, and then it's just kind of no one else really stands out unless you're diving into like Szoboszlai at 5,900, but there's no reason to do that.
Yeah, I mean, Soboslai's been tough for me to get right. I've been disrespecting him, and then he absolutely dunked on me in a showdown. He had a really good game against City, right? But I think his role's a little bit fussy.
He's had a couple good back-to-back starts, but he's been bad basically all season. But you look at the Southampton and Man City games, it's like maybe he found some things out. But do you want to base it off those two games or the rest of the season, kind of a thing?
Yeah, that's the difficult thing, and I don't know. That's where watching the games would be helpful. Maybe you can see a meaningful change in the style of play that maybe these players are attacking a little bit more after a more conservative start to the season for Liverpool, where their attacking numbers were quite bad. It was the phenomenon we were talking about. It seems like Liverpool are getting better and settling in more and showing off a little bit more in the attack. I agree with you. Odegaard is a tournament play. Declan Rice, I think he's more of a tournament play. It's just so tough to pay for a 5-point open play floor that needs set pieces. There should be plenty of set pieces, and he can pay off with assists. I mean, everyone talks about Arsenal set pieces. Plenty of room for shots assisted, but it's sort of like playing Andreas. We don't necessarily. Well, Andreas, the issue is that he subs off early and he has a monopoly. It still feels similar though. I just don't feel like it's a must to pay 7,600 for Declan Rice. Like I want my player to be able to score a goal reliably. And it seems like he's less likely to score goals when Martin Odegaard is starting with him. So it's just gross all around. I guess Jacob Murphy would be my favorite tournament play, though, just because I want to play Newcastle players. And the field usually doesn't play these 60-minute guys too much. Maybe Murphy just goals and assists, and that's good enough. And that victory laps the midfield position.
I just want to point out Declan Rice has 5 shots, 1 on target in the last 2 league games.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, even in a match like this, I don't know if just because Odegaard's in the lineup that Declan Rice is going to be more defensive. It's just like we talk about this or we have talked about in the past with Man City. It's like Arsenal are going to be in the attacking third the majority of the game. Like Declan Rice is going to be near the top of the box for the majority of the match. So like, I don't think, even though Odegaard's on the pitch, he even plays a little more on the right side. So, yeah, I mean, I still think there's like upside with someone like Declan here, especially in a situation where Arsenal struggled to score, kind of a thing.
Yeah, I mean, you're starting to see why maybe the double punt forward and play Saka in a midfield spot might be like a decent tournament strategy. Because it's ugly out there, folks. So
yeah, you just gotta bank on Ipswich to score 2 goals.
Yeah, and then Andre to come back and thread an assist and get 8 tackles won, and then our boy Sandro Tonali takes 8 corners randomly. And we're good to go. Now we're printing.
Or Tonali doesn't even start, and we don't have to worry about Tonali.
That would probably be nice.
And then we just play Longstaff at 4K, and we're like, yeah, let's go Longstaff.
I've done that before, and it doesn't feel good. Give me my Casey McAteer instead.
I've done it like 2 seasons ago. I haven't done it in a long time. It just hasn't been there since like Bruno Guimaraes just kind of been the guy that's floated a little higher up. But let's get to some defenders here. TAA 6,800, Robbo Robertson and 5,900. Not too expensive, and I think a respectable prices for both those guys. Lewis Hall, your favorite defender, 6,600. Aitnery is 6,100, played as a wingback last match. So we have to mention Doherty if he is a wingback again, because he was attacking
4,700.
He was attacking a ton in that game at West Ham. He's 4,700. Timber 4,800. There's a lot of good guys up here. Leif Davis 5,400. Again, it's not a terrible spot playing Wolverhampton, even though it's away from home. So there's a lot of good options here. Do you lock in the Liverpool defenders, or do you get some consideration for these other guys here?
It's a headache, I think.
Yeah.
TAA is going to be a really good play. You can
3 defender slate
set pieces. It could be like there's a construction that you can play where you play Trent Alexander-Arnold, you play Lewis Hall, and then you play Leif Davis, and then you can just play, like Tonali and Casey McAteer or Andre. Like you can just completely punt the midfield position, which seems viable. But yeah, it's tough to decide between Trent and Lewis Hall, I think, because Lewis Hall has the matchup. Could be a spot where, Ryan calls him Leaf Davis light, but now he's Leaf Davis heavy. He's more expensive than Leaf Davis, but could be a spot where he gets a lot of corners and he crosses a lot. It's tough to choose between those two. I just think TAA is more likely to give me a goal. I'd like to try to play both. I've been looking at lineups with Buonanotte. It's easy to play Lewis Hall then because you just play Lewis Hall in utility spot instead of Buonanotte. Adam, the question I wanted to ask, like, Leaf Davis is fine at 5,400, but his open play floor hasn't been good. And I already mentioned, like, it seems like he's not taking right-footed set pieces. That hurts his projection a lot, I think. I think he's fine, but normally we've just been like, we got to get Leaf Davis into our teams. I don't really think that's the case as much as his open play floor declines in comparison to what he did in the second division.
Yeah, his numbers are clearly down from where they were at his peak a couple months ago, where he's getting double digits basically every game. Had a double-digit cross games, and then you look at his recents, and it hasn't really been there. So yeah, definitely 5,400. That's why his price has gone down. But at that point, if we get this Wolverhampton lineup, why not just go down to Matt Doherty, who was attacking a ton in that last game? 4 shots at West Ham. I don't know. Why not just play Doherty over Leaf Davis? I guess
is Leaf Davis going to score a goal? How many shots does he have this season? Like, he's not even crossing that much from open play. I think I looked at the open play floor I projected him for, and that's 5. I mean, 5 is fine, but like,
he has 1 multi-shot game this season.
Yeah, without a monopoly of set pieces, he's just not that good a play. Again, he has outs to get there. It's against Wolves. They could get game script, and they could just get a lot of corners on one side. So he's not a bad play. But you're talking about you might only be able to play 2 of Lewis Hall and Trent Alexander-Arnold and Leaf Davis, and I think I'd rather play those 2 instead of Leaf Davis, even though he's 1,400 cheaper. Maybe you just play all 3, Adam, and that's the correct way to approach it. But I don't know, some efficient pricing on this one, Adam. It's not like anyone stands out as a clear cut, like, oh, well, Lewis Hall is only 4K for some reason. Like, no one's really mispriced on this slate. Have we talked about anyone who's a clear misprice?
Andre, but
How could I forget?
Van Dijk is 4,500. Just scrolling down here. There's not. I don't know. Do you like we talked about? This could be a 3 defender slate. This isn't a slate where you spend down, is it? There's so many double-digit floor guys here where, at least in cash games here, like you don't really want to spend down and go to Ben Johnson for 4,100. Go with the center backs. I guess you go with the Saliba goal, get the set piece goal from Saliba. You play Declan in that lineup. Saliba's 4K. So you have those guys. James Justin is 3,800. So it's not really. There's all these center backs that we play in certain slates, but I don't know if this is a center back slate though. When you have so many good floor plays.
Yeah, I think the spend up floor plays are good. It's just going to be tough to pay up for 3 defenders if you want to get a little bit more juice in your attack. Like if you're playing Saka and Kuna, and then you want to play like another good third attacker, costs money, and you might have to play a slightly worse defender at one of the spots. So James Justin seems to make a lot of lineups work, just from what I've been looking at. Matt Doherty could probably be similar. The machine never spends down at goalkeeper, but you can do that. It's a very good strategy. So yeah, I think Justin is fine, but he's not a must. Like he's been getting like a 6-point floor pretty reliably. Our friend in Discord, Bear, he says he's live for a goal or an assist. So I think he does have some upside to deliver a 10-point game.
We're talking James Justin.
James Justin, yeah. He could contribute. It's just not great, right? Like it's 3,800, but it makes things work.
If we do get the I'm not 100% on the what Ruud van Nistelrooy is going to do, but if there is like 3 center backs, if Cody Vestergaard and or Wout Faes and Caleb Akoli are in there, and there's 3 center backs, you get Christensen and Justin on the wings. Like that's just a more favorable spot. So something to keep an eye on once those lineups come out would lead to more more reason to take someone like Justin instead of spending up at 2-3 defenders. So
after that monologue, I'm going to bet on James Justin to get a yellow card. Like, it just feels destined.
yeah, it could be, 3 floor point game, yellow card. He's on same side as Anthony Gordon. Anthony Gordon draws 3 fouls and gets a yellow card out of him, kind of thing. Definitely in play.
Yeah, that doesn't feel so good, does it? Anyway, it's a gross option, but again, for some reason, the machine thinks that Leicester can score some floor. So if they're cheap, it might be worth taking a shot on. Just look at that old West Ham game. That's what I'll say.
So the machine does not spend down on goalkeepers. That means he's on David Raya with a 53% chance for a clean sheet. 5,900 David Raya.
A lot of David Raya and a lot of Alisson. Now that Alisson is back, the spots all rate pretty similarly for these teams. Just looking at the clean sheet odds, I would prefer to play David Raya just because you're getting over 50%. I mean, Everton have been awful at him. I think Everton have 14 goals in 14 games this season.
They have, if you take away their game against Wolves when they had 4 set piece goals, 2 of them were own goals. If you take that away, they have 0 goals in their last 4 matches. So
that's certainly playing a role in the clean sheet odds. And Arsenal's home defense are really good. I mean, I think Arsenal have only given up like a goal a game. I think they had a couple shocking performances themselves, and they're getting better now that Odegaard is back. So I like Raya. I think Raya was my goalkeeper when I won 7,500 in Champions League. So my favorite gunner, David Raya. You can spend down though, Adam. I mean, Sam Johnstone is 5,200, I think, and Muric on Ipswich is 4,100. Yet they have a 23% difference in win probability. Like, it wouldn't shock us to see Ipswich Town win this game. It's not that bad a spot. So I think Muric is going to be like a go-to name in cash games just because he's 400 more than Pickford, but he's got 5-time better win odds and might actually keep a clean sheet. Like, if Ipswich kept a clean sheet, we'd be like, oh yeah, Wolves stink. It wouldn't be like Everton miraculously keeping a clean sheet.
Yeah.
So I think Muric is a good play if you want to spend down.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. 4,100, maybe most likely on the slate to be sent off and or draw fouls and or have 2 own goals and or have an assist, but and or have 10 plus saves, I guess, though Wolverhampton don't take that many shots.
Yeah.
So that is one of the issues there. But
yeah,
if you want one of those, 5+ save games, this probably isn't it for Muric unless Cunha is just ripping shots from outside the box, which is always in play, though he scored a couple of those this season. I guess of these other 3 underdogs here, not including Ipswich, Leicester, Fulham, Everton, who would you rather play between Hermanson, Pickford, and Leno here?
Oh, jeez.
I might say Leno because Fulham's defense has been really good this season. The center backs again is still like just worrying me here about Cuenca and Diop if that's what they're going to do. Cuenca, where did he come from? Villarreal. He came from somewhere in La Liga in the offseason. He's like one of these left back, center back guys. I think he has maybe 1 or 2 starts in cup play, kind of a thing. Just not a ton of action. Now there's at Liverpool at Anfield. So that is like one thing where it's like, I'm going to make 3 mistakes. I'm going to take the Calvin Bassey role, make 3 mistakes. And yeah. So
the Calvin Bassey role.
But yeah, that's goalkeeper. So flag plant time here. Let's get into tournaments. You and Ryan gave out your flag plants last week. I think they all.
I flag planted a goalie. I'm surprised you didn't fire me.
You did get fired, but you're back. So, yeah, you got any thoughts here? I'm gonna run through the lineups and see if I can find anything good here.
I'm gonna flag plant Facundo Buonanotte in a hashtag in a GPP. I'm just gonna side with my projections. I get mad when something works out. That was projected to be a reasonable spot. It might be a nice spot. You could play a team like Isak and Gordon, and then use Buonanotte to make everything work. in the midfield. And I think Newcastle, they haven't exactly been spectacular this season. I mean, Adam, they might be lower than Tottenham on the table, right? Like,
They are.
and if you scroll down all the way, the cheat sheet has team conceded stats.
What? No way. RotoWire.com/soccer trial. That's a 48-hour trial.
Now sort by shots. And you'll see that Newcastle concede like 15 shots per game. That's not like really strong defensively whatsoever. It's similar to what Wolves and Ipswich allow. So
at home, 15.14.
Yeah, it's pretty consistent from home in a way. So therefore, I'm going to lean into Leicester being able to get shots off. I think Newcastle will do really well, but I don't think they've been the most defensively convincing team this season, and it shows in their results. So therefore, my GPP flag plant, and I will play him in something important so that if he loses, it costs me money so you can laugh at me. Maybe the scissor kick. I don't know if contests are up. But yeah, as a tournament play, I like Facundo Buonanotte. That's going to be my flag plant.
I'll stand in here and say, because Jack's not going to say Jamie Vardy, but what he just said makes Jamie Vardy a play. You got the slow you got Dan Burn and Fabian Schär back here. Jamie Vardy is gonna just run behind those guys and get the goal on the counter. That's how it's gonna happen.
Oh my God, what have I done? Maybe Adam will make a joint lineup. We'll both I'll throw something into the king of the pitch if it's $25, and we'll do.
You can't do it.
So Isak, Gordon, Vardy, and Buonanotte, and then we'll ship it.
Let's do it.
Easy.
Yeah, for flag plants, I don't think anything just like stands out because it's just like a weird slate with these teams where, like, I don't think like this is going to be. I don't know. I keep talking about this game in Fulham center backs. I don't think this is going to be like a 3-4 goal game here for Liverpool. But I mean, these guys are always in play. Curtis Jones, we haven't even talked about him. He's had some good matches, especially in good spots. What is he? 5,400. He's another guy that's cheaper, that will attack, and with McAllister suspended, I don't know if 90 is possible here, but more than usual, I guess I'll say. I think one guy here that we haven't mentioned that seems like a great tournament play, sub 10%. I think he scored on Tuesday. Kai Havertz is 8,700. I don't know how many people are going to go there. He was and maybe didn't score midweek because he was rested. I don't know. I can't remember if he came off the bench or not. But Kai Havertz, 8,700, didn't start midweek. Could be set for 90 here.
Good show.
Seems pretty reasonable. Home against Everton, kind of stands out to me in terms of just being a tournament play. But
yeah.
You could look at any of these just like forwards who we haven't talked about yet. Jacob Larsson here for Wolverhampton. Why can't Wolverhampton score 2-3 goals? Maybe get Larsson and Cunha involved in a couple of them, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of places you can go. Newcastle, if you want to go Murphy in his 60 minutes and hope for a goal and assist early, go for it. That's the one thing. Isak probably is another guy. Like how he has the best odds to score on the slate, but like how popular is he going to be? 1,200 cheaper than Salah? Like he's not going to be that popular. So.
Yeah, I like all of that. And maybe I'll make a secondary flag plant. It can be a joint one. Omari Hutchinson playing with Cunha so that you have the Ipswich goal so that Cunha has to score floor points. I think it makes sense in the context of playing a good construction. And I don't know how much ownership any of the attackers on Ipswich will get. I don't know. Hutchinson has been due, I think, to break a slate. So maybe we see it happen against Wolves.
Yep. Liam Delap, 5,500 also in that game. But that's all we got here. You can find Jack at Jack Burkart. I am at Roto Zdroik. RotoWire.com/soccer trial, 48-hour trial. Please like this video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, let's mix that one up. YouTube.com/@RotoWire. Soccer is our YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Get all the videos we have going on. But thank you, Jack. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Adam. Yes.
I was going to say Ryan, but Ryan is not here. Thanks, Ryan, for helping us with Facundo's left foot. That's all we got. Good luck on the slate, and find us in the Discord, rotowire.com/chat.
Good luck, everyone.